All right, folks. Travel back in time with us today as we discuss the Back to the Future movies. Don't worry, you don't need money. It don't take fame. You don't need a credit card to ride this train because that's the power of Bygone Geek.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Eric, it's been a blast watching the Back to the Future movies. I've basically grown up with all of these, and I watch them once a year. Do you have any childhood memories or your first memories of which movie you watched first and just how it resonated with you as a kid?
Yeah, I enjoyed rewatching these as well. And like you, I feel like I regularly, I've probably seen these probably close to 100 times each. I wouldn't be surprised. And I was really having a hard time thinking of which one I probably saw first. And it probably was Back to the Future 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the second one because it was just a little more crazy that it's just like there are so many timelines. You see the future of 2015. Oh my God, 2015. It's like you couldn't compute that in the 90s. And now it's like in 2022, 2015 is kind of lame. Like there wasn't really a lot of big stuff that happened in 2015. Definitely
Thankfully, we don't have
hoverboards.
a Jaws 19 in 2022. It really, really, really is personal this time.
Shark still looks fake.
When were you first exposed to it?
I have to agree because my mind really wants to be like a traditionalist. Like, no, you started with one.
Right.
Kind of like Star Wars, right? No, you started with A New Hope, then you got Empire Strikes Back, then Return of the Jedi. Same with this, but I do feel, and I was trying to figure out that word too for Back to the Future 2, and I think that's the one I did start with first. I think that's the one my parents showed me. And you said kind of it's like crazier, and it totally is, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of was using the word cartoony almost.
Yeah.
With the way the future is and some of those characters. And it just was more adventure and just more fun.
Yeah.
As I like I said, I rewatched these movies almost every year. Like Back to the Future, the first one, as a kid, and even now, it's still pretty dark. There's some dark elements.
You're gonna see some serious shit.
What are some things that you liked about the second one, young Eric, that still resonate with you today?
In the second movie with hoverboards, that to me is burned into the back of my childhood memories, is when young Griff chases after him on the bulldog, the version of the hover, the pit bull, the pit bull. And the fact is like, hey, you bozo, those boards don't work on water.
Unless you've got power!
The practical effects of those hoverboards still look so freaking cool in 2022.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I didn't
Incredible.
I didn't see a single hanging line. I didn't see any sort of like just movie like it was just straight up. You could have swore that they were all truly on hoverboards. So for me, that is definitely the most burned in memory of Back to the Future 2 in my childhood brain. And still when I watched rewatch that scene as an adult, it's just so cool. It's so whimsical and amazing. Like what was yours?
Well, I think you hit a lot of great points, and I think you know as well, and for the YouTubers watching, Eric knows firsthand that the hoverboards don't go on water.
No,
I see you
yeah. I'm pretty sure if I actually stood on that, I would shatter it into a million pieces.
When young David first saw the power laces, the Nikes, it was like, oh, I need those like right now. Almost like, okay, I guess there's going to be, young David had a need for shoes. I think of Men in Black and Will Smith. And then I'm going to get to the next part. He had that jacket.
Yeah.
Young David also wanted jackets. I grew up in the Southwest. I should have been wearing flip-flops and no
That's
jackets.
true.
Now, I will be honest, and I don't want to lose any listeners because of this. I did not care for the hat in the movie. I was like, that's kind of takes away from the cool factor.
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
Hello? Hello, anybody home? Huh? Think, McFly, think.
Well, I think we've talked a lot about Back to the Future 2. Where would you go next as a kid? I think I said probably saw the third one. What do you think?
I think so too. I think it was the second one or the third one because I think those were released relatively close together. And I feel like they had a similar tone. Plus, I feel like if you start with the second one ends with such a cliffhanger. And it actually had like a legit trailer for the third one that it's just like, yeah, why wouldn't you go to the third? So I feel like even just the natural progression of if you started with the second, the third, you're just like, wait, they're in the Old West. I need to figure out what happened to Doc. Like, so I agree. I think it was 2, 3, and 1.
Yeah, I grew up on Westerns, John Wayne, Bonanza. This third one, especially that latter half of the movie with the train scene, there was a lot of that up and down of the music because, you know, Claire Clayton is hanging off this train.
Yeah.
Marty's in the front, Doc's on top of it. And you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
As I watched, I didn't realize this as a kid, but as an adult, this really is all about Doc.
It is.
Marty's kind of the Doc in this one, in the sense of as a character.
Yeah. And he's finding a love interest and the duplicate scenes that we had talked about that they do. Like, if you remember in the first movie, when they're in 1955 and Lorraine, you know, comes into wants to come into Doc's shop and they're like, quick, cover up the DeLorean. Yeah. And she comes in and she's swooning her son. You know, that they duplicated that scene in the third one. But it was reversed. It was Doc that Clara comes in and Marty's like, cover up the DeLorean, and she comes in and swoons him. Like,
Which is much more appropriate.
Yeah, way more appropriate. Yeah.
But you're so thin.
Yeah, you're right. It very much was a Doc movie, and I think they established that right at the end of the second one. That when you see him, get you know, lightning bolted back to the past. Right. You know, in this case, back to the past. And then that Western Union guy comes and like he reads the note. Like that was so intense, and you were just like, "Yeah, what happened to Doc? We need to go save Doc."
Well, young David thought that was Doc. Like you see the headlights, and I was like, "Well, it's there." Oh, this is very dark and ominous. What's happening? And he's like, "I got a letter," and he, motions, and it was a pretty intense scene.
Whoa, this is heavy.
There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
He talked about her swooning her son. My notes for the first movie, I just have like, Freud would have a lot to say.
Yeah, he'd have a field day.
These movies. So,
maybe Robert Zemeckis has had something going on back in the day when he wrote this movie.
Wait a minute, Doc, are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Precisely.
Can you remember specifically when you watched the first one?
No, I had to have been in probably 5th or like middle school age, I feel.
I think I'm the same way too. Yeah.
And again, there was some dark elements that I don't know if Mom wanted me to see those things, like the referencing of Peeping Tom. And when Biff...
Libyan terrorist and plutonium and Doc getting shot. Like, yeah.
Thank God he made Mr. Fusion.
That's what... now that you mentioned that, I have a thing in my notes that after rewatching this, I find it funny that in the first movie, the DeLorean takes full-fledged plutonium. And in the second movie, it takes 2 banana peels and a half of a Miller High Life. Out of the trash can.
Sips.
And it's just like, how in the world did you go from a stick of plutonium to 2 banana peels and the tiniest little bit of Miller High Life and the can? And you're like, yep, we're good to go. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
But, this movie had so many memorable scenes. But, I mean, you can't not talk about, as a kid, the first scene when we see Marty flipping the switches for that sound, the
giant
booster sound.
Speaker. Yeah. That huge amplifier was so cool. Yeah.
And all the sounds and clicks, and when he plugs in the jack into the guitar, it just sounded so amazing. And then... and he gets blasted. You're like, as a kid, that was so cool.
I feel like I even remember he has a metal guitar pick that it's just like glints into the sun, and you're just like, a metal guitar pick. Oh my goodness.
That scene, he goes, I'm late for school, which we all can resonate, and then have never seen someone take a skateboard and then hop onto the back of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
That was, as a kid and even as an adult, we wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Didn't.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do that.
Yeah. It was really that, especially when he gets into downtown Hill Valley and he transitions from like one car to another car bumper.
Yes.
Like he was so cool. And I feel like they, straight out of the gate in that first movie, Marty McFly was cool in the second and the third, but he was super cool in the first one.
You know, when you talk about the movies and the cars, and we've kind of talked about this before, Batmobiles and things like that, did you have a favorite DeLorean?
The first one was cool, especially the way that they reversed it out of the Doc Brown's van in the Twin Pines Mall parking lot. Like
yes.
the reveal of that was so amazing. And that whole sequence in that parking lot, like, was just, the DeLorean was the star in that in that scene. Like the car was the star.
It's a character in itself that we really don't talk. Well, we're talking about it now, but you're totally right. It gets its own entrance, and it's so cool. I never had seen doors open like that either as a kid. No. Just even an iconic vehicle. The sound of the doors too. The tring, like it has a high pitched sound. Like it's amazing that with the doors and the sound of the flux capacitor, and even the sound of the time circuits. Yes.
Like it truly is a character that had essentially a voice to a certain extent. That when you heard the sound of the time circuits and then the sound of the flux capacitor, like every part of it, like it was like a living, breathing thing. It was so cool.
It was very cool.
First, you turn the time circuits on.
Like, honestly, I can't for the life of me, rewatching these films recently and just for the past 30 years, there's a couple elements that you're just like, oh, that's kind of cheesy, but it's like one or two things. These movies, especially seeing them like remastered in like 4K or on Blu-ray or something like that, you'd swear that it's still a present day film. Like, they're so good. Such good acting, such good writing. The special effects, so many of them still hold up because it was filmed in camera. I almost wonder if they knew at the time that they were filming such iconic movies. I feel like they had to. I feel like they had to realize that.
I think, I hope they did, because it feels like they went all in on everything, and it totally paid off. These are movies, whether Universal is going to take out rides and put them back, whatever or not, I had to ask. I was like, can a 2.5-year-old watch Back to the Future? And my wife's like, no. I was like, okay, well, I'll wait till down the road. But they are going to live on in this home forever. You know? And there's just a love for them that, I'll give you. There's one or two maybe cheesy moments, but the rest of them they hold up. Like, they're just genuine. I think I've used the word wholesome and other things too, but that's what these movies are as well.
Your friend in time, Doc, Emmett L. Brown. I never knew I could write anything so touching.
No, Doc, it's beautiful.
I'm so glad Michael J. Fox was able to make this work, because he's what makes that character that we love. And same with Christopher Lloyd. I don't know if there was another version or if they had another actor in mind for him, but I'm so glad that worked as well, because the casting is perfect in all of these. You know, the Leah Thompson, you said, who plays Lorraine. Again, Mr. Tanner, the actor who plays Biff.
I secretively looked up while we were recording this episode. Tom Wilson is his name. Mr. Wilson. I apologize for this whole entire episode.
I'm still calling him Mad Dog.
Mighty strong words, Ron.